You're joking, aren't you? It's the Teesside Chef. I made this healthy light pasta peperonata on my first date with a lovely new girl, and even though I'm pretty charmless, she wants to see me again, so this recipe must be a winner. But more on my love life later, because first off, we want to get a standard-sized tin of chopped tomatoes in a sieve to drain, because we don't want too much liquid going on here. And we need to finely dice a medium onion now, and speaking of things that are dicey, there isn't anything much more dicey than negotiating the dating world when you're not 21 anymore. But I managed to find a girl whose eyes pointed roughly in the same direction, and who didn't mind fiscally challenged fellas with teeth like a witch doctor's necklace, so we got on like a house on fire. But anyway, in a warm pan on a medium heat, I'm frying this onion gently in 75 millilitres of a good olive oil until tender and translucent. And I will be adding a pinch of salt to this onion as I cook it, and I have to pinch myself after my recent romantic escapades, because I've been able to convince myself that I've still got it, whatever it is, and to say I've still got it when I'm not sure I had it in the first place is probably a bit of a misnomer, but I'm happy, so that's the main thing. So now that the onion is nearly finished cooking, you want to add 4 to 6 cloves of garlic, and I always go for the high-end number in my dishes, because I love garlic, and if you have guests, it hides the smell of rising damp in cheaply built social housing like an absolute charm. And the onion's fully cooked, so we can add the tomatoes that are now fully drained, and I tell you, I was drained after trying to keep the date conversation going for 4 hours, but I just made sure I agreed with everything she said, and didn't reveal too much of my usual personality, because you need that for later in relationships, don't you, when you're both locked in, and you can make each other's lives a misery. But anyway, as you can see, I have 2 bell peppers in here now and try and get 2 different colours for the aesthetics, And for a bit of added flair, I like to chop these bell peppers into thin strips, and the lovely Martika was very impressed with this technique, I have to say. But cute, easily pleased German students notwithstanding, you want to put your peppers in your pan now, toss to combine with the onion, garlic and tomatoes, and then we can get on with our seasoning. So I'm starting with a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, and you do really need the complex flavour profile of balsamic here, so don't leave this out. Then I'll add a teaspoon each of dried oregano and dried thyme, a teaspoon of chilli flakes, and you can adjust this to your own tastes, of course, depending on how much heat you like. And of course, a generous half a teaspoon of salt, and a good pinch of black pepper. And for a touch of sweetness, I always like to use grape juice instead of sugar with a dish of this kind, as it adds sweetness and a bit of fruitiness, and I hope you're not expecting any tales of me getting fruity with Martika, because she's far too much of a lady to give it up on the first date, and I'm far too much of a gentleman to try, and I do obviously hope that things heat up between us in the future, of course, but for now, let's turn the heat down to low and put a lid on all of this kind of talk, and we want to cook this concoction for around 20 to 25 minutes to soften the peppers until they just have a little bit of bite left, and we've brought out all that natural sweetness and flavour. And while that's happening, we can get our pasta on, and I'm using whole wheat penne here, making this a really healthy pasta dish, and 200 grams of dry pasta should be perfect for 2 people. So now we've sorted the pasta out, and it's cooking away. Let's take a taste test of all this nonsense here, and at this point, you can adjust the seasoning to your own tastes, but that tastes pretty good to me, and once it's fully cooked, the flavours will intensify, and just to make sure I have nailed this, I'm going to dive in my pan again at about the 20-minute mark, just to do a texture check on these peppers, and they were perfect at this point. And the pasta's around 90% cooked and still very al dente, and when I drained the pasta, I did make sure to keep some of that pasta water, so now that's tipped in now and we can stir to combine. We want the pasta to continue cooking away a little until it's cooked to your preference, and you'll need to keep this lubricated with some of the pasta water, so I hope you didn't throw any of it away when you drained your pasta, and I did warn you. And we can allow that pasta to take on some of the flavours now, and the oil in the water with the tomatoes will emulsify and give a lovely glossy coating to our pasta. And don't be scared to add more seasoning if you like, and a little bit more pasta water if things are drying out, before adding some fresh herbs to finish. And I have some parsley and some chopped basil here, and all that's left to do now is serve this up. Pasta peperonata, a delightful, healthy pasta dish that will definitely impress that special someone. And I better get off now anyway, because I've got to start working out, haven't I, and shaving my ear hair and whatnot. So I'll see you next week, everyone, eh? Ta-ra.